At the NCAA tournament. Both of LA's NBA teams are back on the court tonight with a 2-game losing streak. The Lakers, 2-4 in their last 6, are at Phoenix. The Clippers are at home against Minnesota. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the Art of Conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it?
Yeah, man.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, oh, come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA. Top 1580, download the app.
You are listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your host, your co-host, and White House correspondent for KBLA Talk 1580. It is an honor and a privilege to be sitting in for our friend, our brother, our colleague, Jesse Jackson Jr., as he and his family mourn the loss of Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'll be filling in for the remainder of this week and all of next week as Jesse Jackson Jr. Mourns the loss and buries his father. We have some backup here to make sure that we are here continuing the conversation, continuing to uplift the voices of leaders on the front lines. One such leader will be co-hosting this hour, Atiba. He is the president of the National State Legislators Association and former deputy executive director for the National Black Caucus of State Legislatures. He's a strategic alliance consultant, president of the Party Politics US. If he looks familiar, probably because he is. He's a frequent TV political contributor for a number of outlets, and he's here with us today. Atiba, welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Atiba, do we have you? While we are waiting for Atiba's sound to catch up with his extraordinary insights and analysis, let me just lay out where we're going this hour. Atiba is going to be in conversation with Gary Flowers and with Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver, the former executive director of the National Council of Negro Women. That is an important and timely conversation, especially given the rich legacy of Reverend Jackson as it relates to those organizations. And then I'll be back in the second hour along with Dr. Johnny Mack, who is the curator of the World House, which is Dr. King's visionary group. And he works very closely with them. He works very hard to continue to keep Dr. King's vision alive, that vision around creating a beloved community. And he was appointed by Coretta Scott King. And I'm really looking forward to learning more about that work and learning about the lessons that he gleaned from a whole generation of civil rights leaders whose shoulders we stand on. We are now joined again with Atiba, the co-host for this hour. Atiba, are you there? All right. Well, while Atiba gets settled in, I want to again welcome all of you to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are filling in for the incredible Jesse Jackson Jr. And we have some really important conversations that we've curated just for you. And so when we come forward, we are going to dig into this conversation. But let me first just say how excited we are to celebrate Black History Month here at KBLA. Anybody who follows us on KBLA and WVON, you know that we don't just celebrate Black History Month in February. We celebrate it year-round. And I happen to be in Los Angeles right now at our Black History Month luncheon here. And so doing double duty today, but proud to do it. I'm proud to work with an incredible team of folks. We have the executive producer, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, Gina Towns, with us. Yes. Gina.
Can you hear me, NICU?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Certainly, we are keeping the Jackson family in our prayers. And Jesse has been so amazing in continuing to do the show throughout this week as the family makes plans. He is going to be, Reverend is lying in state today at Operation Push. There are a lot of people in town. It has been a steady stream of people all morning. And Reverend will lie in state today and tomorrow, and then the family will trek to Greenville, South Carolina, where Reverend is a native son, and they will have a number of services and people joining to reflect upon his life and just give the gratitude that is deserved from those people in South Carolina. You know, I was listening, NICU, to a speech that Reverend did, and it may have been part of one of his presidential speeches, perhaps 84, in which he talked about his background and that he can understand. People say, well, you're in the spotlight, you don't understand me. And certainly if this is an opportunity for everybody, especially the younger generations who are not as familiar with the walk of Reverend Jesse Jackson, and his role in securing our voting rights and our platform at the DNC. I just really want to lift them up and how courageous, especially Jesse has been in being vulnerable here with our audience and even shedding tears. We're going to come forward. I know you've got to go back and attend to something, and we're going to make sure that Atiba comes forward. But when we come back, we will have our guests join us, and we are excited to talk to them as we continue our reflection on Reverend Jesse Jackson, here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
You got to laugh the pain away.
Hey, KBLA delegation, happy Black History Month. Around here, we celebrate our culture, our community, and our contributions daily. But this year, as we observe the 100th anniversary of Black History Month celebrations, we're excited about our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, honoring comedy greats. On Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum in downtown LA, we're toasting D.L. Hughley, Melanie Camacho, Earthquake, Munell, Dion Cole, and Martin Lawrence with a surprise guest appearance. A limited number of individual tickets for the luncheon remain, so now would be a good time to head to KBLA1580.com to secure one for yourself. That's KBLA1580.com. A little laughter goes a long way, especially in times like these. So come, join us for our annual KBLA Talk 1580 Black History Month Luncheon, Thursday, February 26th at the Grammy Museum. Again, tickets are available right now at KBLA1580.com.
Well, I hang around my boy. He's been married for 6 years. Videotaped his wedding day, never watched it. Now and every day he watch it every day, but he watch it in reverse. Because he said he loves seeing himself take that ring back off of that finger. Walking back down that aisle, just waving at her ugly mother down the church, getting back in the limo, back at the bachelor party. Look how happy I was.
KBLA Talk 1580 thanks LA City Council members Curran D. Price Jr. and Heather Hutt for being the presenting sponsors at this year's Black History Month Luncheon. Honoring excellence, resilience, and achievement, we're KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Wally drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the need. KBLA Talk 1580. Down
welcome. This is the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I am Atiba, sitting in today for Jesse Jackson Jr., who is with his family today. We know over the next few days that the family, along with millions of people, are going to be celebrating the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson. Hi, Gina.
Hi, Atiba. How are you?
Gina is our executive producer and the person behind the scenes, and many of you all know her. She comes on Fridays and gives a recap of the week's shows. And so, Gina, I know we had a little bit of technical difficulty before, but I'm very happy today to be able to bring forward two very good friends, who have worked in their roles working with Reverend Jackson, to come onto the show today to give us some reflections about Reverend Jackson, as well as the work that they've been doing. So first off, let me introduce Gary Flowers. Gary was the vice president for Rainbow Push. He and I have worked together in Washington, D.C. over the years. Gary is an African-American history enthusiast who has devoted over 35 years to civil rights law and activism. He's worked alongside many notable African-American trailblazers, such as Reverend Jesse L. Jackson and former Governor Douglas Wilder. So, Gary, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Brother Atiba. I'm glad to be here.
And also, we have joining us today Dr. Avis Jones D. Weaver. Avis has over 20 years of research, advocacy, and evaluation experience. She is the president and CEO of Insight Unlimited, LLC, a consulting firm devoted to the principle of moving great ideas to effective action. She also is the youngest woman to oversee the National Council of Negro Women. And I will add in, she also is a Virginia State University alumnus. And I mentioned that because Avis was at Virginia State University when I was there. So one of the students who I looked up to very much. So I want to thank both of you for joining us today.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Atiba.
So with that said, I was thinking about when I asked both of you to join the show, I was thinking about the meetings that we used to attend, in particular at the National Council of Negro Women headquarters. I don't want to say in the basement because it's a very luxurious place, in terms of where we were meeting. And I remember and recall, for instance, as a younger person, I still like to think of myself as young, but as a younger person sitting there, and when I say awed by the people who were heading these organizations, like you, Gary, like you, Dr. Jones DeWeaver, but also that we also were often visited when we were having our national policy meetings with Reverend Jackson, with Dr. Hite. And so could you, Gary, I'll start with you. Just give us some of your impressions in terms of the work that you did. You worked for the first African-American governor of the state of Virginia. You worked with Reverend Jackson. Some of the reflections you have in working with both of those men, and in particular with Reverend Jackson.
Well, first, I approach this show today. My heart is hurting, but it's hopeful. And I thank you for this opportunity. I'm glad that you mentioned the Black Leadership Forum Alliance meetings that we held monthly in the lower level of Dr. Hite's building, the National Council of Negro Women. That organization, when you were there, Atiba, I called those meetings because we had 51 national organizations aligned around representing 15 million Black people and their policy interests at the municipal, county, state, national, and international level. That organization traced its roots back to really the 1960s, what some people would call the Big Six of the NAACP, the Urban League, the Congress of Racial Equality, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. But there was Dr. Hite as well. It really should have been the Big Seven. The Council of Negro Women should have been included in that Big Six. But when they came together in 1977, the idea was to have a collective meeting so that organizations would not go off to the White House by themselves without having a meeting before the meeting. And so that alliance was born in 1977. And I was the executive director and CEO between 2007 and 2014. But it was Dr. Height, it was Reverend Jackson, it was the heroes and sheroes of our Black organizations that said, we need to collaborate in the best tradition of African American leadership in this country. We did so, and we were effective. If I had to say, our crowning achievement was coming together around the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, where we pulled all of our organizations into effective public policy at the federal level.
So, Dr. Avis, Gary did a good job in terms, I think, of highlighting the role of the National Council of Negro Women, Dr. Height within that. You headed up that organization. Could you tell us, one, a bit about Dr. Height, the National Council of Negro Women, as well as some of your reflections in terms of those meetings and with Reverend Jackson attending?
Absolutely. So Dr. Height, obviously a trailblazer in her own right, someone who, as Gary mentioned, was an equal partner in terms of the civil rights movement with the Big Six. She was there. She often joked that oftentimes you would have these, all the male leaders take pictures together, and she was on the end, and she was often cropped out of the pictures. And so she remembered, she saw that. And so she came up with the idea to always, from then on, to stand in the middle so they couldn't crop her out.
That rare between the thorns.
So, he was a trailblazer in her own right. She was someone who walked the walk of at the same time pushing for civil rights and advancements for the Black community, at the same time that she was pushing for advancements for women, and specifically the intersection that is representative of Black women. And so her life's work and her legacy is all up and through the National Council of Negro Women, an organization that still is out here making a difference across the world when it comes to advancing and prioritizing the needs of Black women in the U.S. and around the world. As it relates to her relationship with the amazing Reverend Jesse Jackson and the work that we did at NCNW and how it intersect with the incredible work of PUSH, we were very we understood the importance of making sure that our communities would maximize their power at the polls during the elections that we had. We wanted to make sure that African Americans understood how to be able to make sure that their voices were heard in the political sphere. There was so much love and respect among these leaders, and we would send representatives and support the work of Rainbow PUSH and that incredible organization, and just specifically the leadership that Jesse Jackson provided at the same time that Dr. Height was out here providing her leadership, was just so critical to make sure that our community could navigate the challenges that we faced in real time, but at the same time lay the groundwork and shift the infrastructure and the rules and the laws of this nation such that we would all have a greater opportunity moving forward than our parents and our forefathers who came before us.
Yeah, thank you for that. When I think about not just to those meetings, but, just going back, if we go back to the 60s and then we go back 40 years before that in terms of women gaining the right to vote, we go back from there back to African-American slaves, newly freed slaves gaining the right to vote, that a lot of times people like Calvin Smyre, Representative Calvin Smyre, who was on the show with us last week, used to tell me and tell a lot of folks often that the only people in America who can set public policy are elected officials. And so when you mention in terms of where we are today, for instance, and I'm looking at, you know, the passing of Reverend Jackson, and then also the passing of the torch, in a sense, in terms of where we are, in terms of the work that we still is left to be done, and work that I think is always there's always something to do. You know how as a kid, you know, you're taught that there's always something in the house that can be done. Mm-hmm. It's where do you see us now? You know, this week we had the president give the State of the Union address. But in terms of from where you are in your perch, in terms of the work you've done, again, leaning back to Reverend Jackson, who made a lot of these things possible too, with 1984 run for president and 1988. Where are the things that we can be doing together? Because there are a lot of times I find us complaining about what's going on, but what are some of the things that you've learned along the way in your roles that we can be doing collectively, individually and collectively, to continue to push the envelope forward and to make this a better place for all Americans?
Mm-hmm. You know, that is key, that we think about the power that we do have, especially in a moment like this where we are under attack from various different perspectives, but we still have the power to make sure that we register, that we vote, that we overperform, that we're not leaving any power on the table by not flexing that voting power. But in addition to that, a huge power that we have is our buying power. And though we have definitely shown organizations, and particularly corporations like Target, the depth of that blow, I think it's important for us to also think of how can we leverage our economic power in a way so that it doesn't only punish, although punishment is important when it's due, but so that we can use it to grow amongst ourselves. This idea of collective economics, I think, is something that is very, very important. We have over $2 trillion of buying power that we allow this nation to benefit from each and every year. Imagine what could happen if we were very directed and intentional and disciplined, and having that spend circulate in our community instead of let every other community get rich off of our labor. To me, that is something that is very much in our control. And if we were to be able to do that with a very directed and consistent type of discipline, then that could create a situation where our power could be such that our communities could grow stronger no matter what happens in terms of who's in the White House.
And Dr. DeWeaver, you're so right. The roadmap was left by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Haidt, and others. Remember, Dr. King's last speech in Mason Temple on April 3rd, 1968, was not about the mountaintop. It was about redistributing pain, the economic pain that was being leveraged on sanitation workers. Dr. King said, I've come here, Mayor Loeb, to say that you're not treating his people right. And just as you have placed the sanitation workers on the lowest rung of the economic ladder, they too have buying power. And Reverend Jesse Jackson had done the research and informed Dr. King that they were there to redistribute the pain.
Gary, hold on to that thought for me, please. We want to come back to that when we come after the break. We're going to go to break now. And when we come back, Gary, we want you to continue with that thought, please.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Esther Dillard with BIN News Now. Newark's mayor is furious after learning of a vehicle chase involving ICE agents that led to a crash injuring children.
Vehicle pursuits in the state are illegal, in New Jersey and Newark specifically.
Mayor Ross Baraka, who is black, says ICE was conducting an investigation Wednesday morning when they tried pulling over a van when it took off. The van ended up hitting two other vehicles, sending two 15-year-olds and a 12-year-old to the hospital. A Black former daycare worker in Concord, North Carolina is pleading guilty to misdemeanor child abuse. Court documents show LaShonda Williams used a hot glue gun on a chair, then sat a 3-year-old child down, causing second-degree burns on her upper thighs. The former daycare worker was sentenced to 10 days in jail. And memorial services begin today for the late Reverend Jesse Jackson at the Rainbow Push Coalition headquarters in Chicago. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeforacrossamerica.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's been a tough season for the USC women's basketball team without All-American Juju Watkins. The Compton native is sitting out the entire season to recover from a knee injury. Without Watkins, USC has not been ranked in the top 25 since January 12th. The Trojans fell to 9-8 in the Big Ten, 17-11 overall after losing at Penn State Wednesday night, 85-82. They close out the regular season Sunday at home against UCLA, the number 2 team in the country. UCLA has won 21 straight and will likely be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Even if the Trojans upset UCLA, they're going to have to go deep in the Big Ten tournament to have a shot at the NCAA tournament. Both of LA's NBA teams are back on the court tonight with a 2-game losing streak. The Lakers, 2-4 in their last 6, are at Phoenix. The Clippers are at home against Minnesota. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa,
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
This Black History Month, we're proud to highlight the diverse team that helps serve Los Angeles every day. At the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, our nearly 12,000-strong workforce reflects the communities we serve. We're hiring for positions in engineering, skilled craft, information technology, fleet services, and more. Are you ready for competitive pay, strong benefits, and a meaningful career that serves millions? Join the team that's building a stronger LA. Learn more at joinladwp.com.
Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I am Atiba, sitting in for Jesse Jackson Jr. today, who is with his family as respects are being given to Reverend Jackson over the next few days. Our guests are Gary Flowers, who is a native of Richmond, Virginia, a graduate of the Richmond Public Schools, who also was the vice president and national field director of the Reverend Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Push Coalition, as well as Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver is joining us. She is an award-winning author, international speaker, political commentator, and race and gender empowerment expert. She formerly served as the youngest ever executive director of the National Council of Negro Women. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you. And Brother Atiba, before the break, I was laying the predicate that heroes and sheroes of the modern civil rights movement inculcated in Reverend Jackson a spirit of collectivism. In particular, Reverend Jackson would often say, we should turn to each other and not on each other. Dr. Haidt, in her inimical voice, I considered her a second grandmother. She too was born in Richmond, Virginia. And she would say, Gary, our fingers are strong by themselves, but when we put them together in a fist, we can strike a mighty blow against the ills and isms of this country. And so it was her guidance, Dr. King's guidance, that laid the path for Reverend Jackson to then say to the nation, keep hope alive. And when you ask the question, what should we do today? We should do what they laid as a roadmap for us to do. And that is that we turn to each other and not on each other. Dr. DeWeaver mentioned earlier our collective consumer power. It's been effectively applied to Target and other stores. We have more work to do in that area.
Yeah, thank you. And so, Dr. DeWeaver, I want to, talk a little bit about the activities that will be going on next week for Reverend Jackson's procession. We know that there was a request for his body to lie in state at the U.S. Capitol, and now there are plans for Reverend Jackson's procession to go to Washington, D.C., to sit outside of the D.C. government, the D.C. Council building, as well as the National Council of Negro Women building next week. What are some of your thoughts in terms of where and how D.C. played a role? Reverend Jackson was the shadow senator for Washington, D.C. And so we often talk about the Reverend Jackson in terms of a national level, but D.C. and him coming to be a shadow senator in D.C. was all still around the fact of a lack of representation that D.C. residents have in the United States Congress. And then we think about the National Council of Negro Women, even in terms of the building and where it is, and its role in terms of that along that area is where slaves were bought and sold.
Exactly.
Tell us some of your thoughts in terms of maybe even in terms of some of the symbolism of the route that is being taken.
Yes. So I would say, even to this day, the national headquarters of the National Council of Negro Women is the only Black-owned real estate on Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yes.
So let that sink in. And I think it's beautiful that it will be one of the sites. As you mentioned, it is literally, it has that distinction, but it's literally right in front of the area in DC that ultimately basically was the slave block. So where our ancestors were bought and sold, and right down the street from us, where the Potomac River is, there was a very, very powerful attempted revolt and escape that was held there. And we have documents that sort of tell that story within the building. But I will say this, I think that we have to celebrate our own. Honestly, I wouldn't expect anything more from Speaker Johnson or from this administration. But we don't need them to celebrate our own. We don't need them to recognize our own greatness and our own brilliance and the impact that our leaders have made, not only on us as individuals, but on this nation and on the world. You bring up his role as a shadow senator because as a DC residents don't have voting representation in Congress. They give lots of taxes, but they do not have voting representation. So to have him be able to raise his voice or the concerns around of the residents of DC was very powerful. But I think it's also important to recognize his savvy as an international negotiator that went across the world to free Americans who had been held hostage in different situations. And so he was a gem, not only for the District of Columbia, he was a gem, not only for African Americans in this country, obviously, he was a gem for the world. And his light needs to be elevated in those spaces where we recognize the beauty of his life and can properly show respect to it. So I'm happy that NCNW will have that opportunity. The District of Columbia will have that opportunity. And most importantly, the people who will come to pay their respects will have that opportunity.
And Gary, I want to come back to you.
Dr. DeWeaver, if I may add, Howard University. His body will lay in repose at Howard University, where people can file through and pay respects. But also, with respect to the District of Columbia, we formed in 1996 the Wall Street Project to democratize capital, beginning on Wall Street. But we didn't limit it there. We opened 6 industry bureaus across the country. And in Washington, D.C., we had the Public Policy Bureau and the Telecommunications Bureau, where we went to Congress and to the White House on a regular basis on policy issues affecting African Americans, but also looking at the telecommunications industry and fighting for Black men and women to have opportunity to own media outlets, newspapers, television stations, radio stations. And that was housed in the nation's capital.
Thank you. You know, it's all these things, and Gina also shared that the family was at the State of the Union with Jesse having sat through 17, Jesse Jr. having sat through 17 of the State of the Union speeches. He described this one as the most divisive and the one lacking the most in substance. And so I say this to say that, you know, one of the things that I think that is often missing in that in terms of this conversation is that while DC has changed a lot, it still is lacking the representation. And we as African Americans continue to talk about representation, and the things that we have historically talked about are the things that are still plaguing the country. These are things that I believe that Reverend Jackson did a really great job of bringing awareness to, as you mentioned, Gary, Wall Street Project, in terms of going to corporate America, talking about these particular issues. And, you know, when we come back after the break, one of the things I'd like for you, Gary, to talk about is the role that Reverend Jackson played in paving a way for the first African-American governor. You worked for Governor Wilder in the state of Virginia, the seat of the Confederacy. We want to talk about that. So, when we think about all these things that are going on today, what would America look like without us? And I think that that's part of the story that I think that is so important for us. I talk about often that let's not just talk about the complaint of what is it, the things that we can do. So thank you all so much for sharing that earlier. And I want to go back to that too. But with that said, you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm sitting in today for Jesse Jackson Jr., who is with his family where he should be right now, as we, along with the world, celebrate the life of the Reverend Jesse Jackson. We will be back after the break, and when we come back, we will go back and talk about the first Black governor whose role was paved by the work of Jesse Jackson, the work of Dorothy Height, and just so many more. So we're going to go to break now. We'll be right back.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
My name is Tyrone Owens, and this is my home for 23 years that burned in the fire. Me and my wife, Charlene, we had this whole yard decorated every year.
This was the house that sparkled throughout the entire neighborhood on all the holidays. It's a community that will never be the same due to the negligence of the utility company. So I am pretty upset about that.
We were nowhere near being able to rebuild with our insurance. It's going to cost $1 million to put your house back up.
I want to get back to that point where we were before the fire. I'm starting to get emotional, but I'll work through it. LA Fire Justice has been wonderful for us. They're just caring people. We have all faith in them.
Big ups to LA Fire Justice, who's given us hope to rebuild 100%.
Advertisement. Douglas Foster, 221 East Walnut Street, Suite 100, Pasadena, California, 91101 is the attorney responsible for this ad.
LA Fire Justice is proud to sponsor Conversation Live, Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
They call it progress, but progress has a price. Land once held in Black hands, taken, stolen, erased. Acres paved into highways, fields burned. Homes replaced by parking lots and broken promises. Every deed lost was a dream deferred. We talk about millionaires, but what about the millionaires that never were? The farmers whose soil was seized. The families who watched their inheritance disappear. The wealth that never had a chance to grow because its roots were ripped from the ground. They took the land, but never the legacy, because the soil remembers, and so do we. Every story matters. Our mission is to collect, preserve, and amplify these stories. If this is part of your family's history, visit blacklandlost.org/share your story and help bring us closer to justice.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The The Michael's Daughter Foundation is dedicated to inspiring youth and resilience through storytelling, arts, filmmaking, and enrichment programs for youth and families in under-resourced communities and system-impacted individuals. The Michael's Daughter Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit providing free and low-cost arts programs to youth and families from under-resourced communities, both system-impacted youth and those affected by the incarceration of a loved one. 1 in 43 children in America have a parent incarcerated. 70% of those children are expected to end up in prison. Through filmmaking, animation, theater, and writing, they help young people express themselves, build confidence, and imagine new possibilities. Beyond the arts, they offer financial literacy workshops, emergency support, and scholarships. Because thriving takes more than talent, it takes access. To learn more about the impact of Michael Daughters Foundation and how you can be a part of the movement, please visit their website, michaelsdaughterfoundation.com. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Not everything announces itself. Some things simply arrive, and the room is compelled to adjust. This is grooming without apology, without noise, without compromise. Gods and money, organic formulations, clean precision, crafted for skin that does not ask for permission to be felt. Element Cream, a rare hydration layered like an oud at dusk, measured, enduring, unmistakably masculine, moisturizing oil, a quiet revolution, restoring what stress, climate, and time attempts to claim. This is not skincare. It is composure made visible. It is inevitability. Gods and money exist impeccably. Discover the ritual at godsandmoney.com. That's Gods and Money, MONY.com.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, and I am Atiba, sitting in for Jesse Jackson Jr. today. Our guests today are Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver and Gary Flowers. Before the break and throughout the show, we have been reflecting on the life of Reverend Jackson as the nation prepares to lay him to rest. So I want to go back, Gary, to where we are. How do we pass the baton forward? What are some of the things that you feel that you've learned through your work that will help us to move forward and pick up the baton and carry the work forward that we saw, that we were so blessed to have from Reverend Jackson?
As we mourn the life and legacy of Reverend Jesse Louis Jackson Sr., history will record that unlike other political figures, Reverend Jackson left coattails. People, heroes and sheroes, a plethora of political leaders would arise after his campaigns in 1984 and 1988 at the municipal, county, state, and even federal level. At one point, his high school teacher ran successfully in his home state of South Carolina for state senate. Other elected officials don't have that record. And that's what separates Reverend Jackson. He could always think outside of the box and apply and execute that analysis with effective action.
You mentioned that. Let's go back to Governor Wilder. And I kind of want to paint a picture, because at Virginia State University, I remember, and oftentimes when I see the governor, I mention to him and say, I remember when you came in to Virginia State University on that helicopter with Reverend Jackson to announce a bond referendum that totally transfixed and changed the way that our campus looks today.
That is such a good point, Brother Atiba, because Reverend Jackson's 84 and 88 campaign left coattails. Among them, the first elected Black governor in the nation's history, L. Douglas Wilder. Also, Mayor Dinkins in New York City. When you look at the candidacy and the election of Barack Obama, it was but for Reverend Jackson and Dr. Ronald Walters that changed the rules of the 1988 Democratic Party convention. Among them, the distribution and delegation of voting delegates at the convention. If there were just a 51% rule, as it was in 1988, Barack Obama would have lost the Democratic primary to Hillary Clinton. And so there is a direct line between Reverend Jackson's political advocacy, but also his persuasion and his political power to change the structure of politics. And for that, Reverend Jackson is the most influential political figure in the world, particularly in the United States, in the last 60 years.
Dr. DeWeaver, do you want to add in?
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, there would be no Barack Obama presidency without those changes in the rules that allowed for proportional representation when it came to the distribution of delegates as it relates to our primary system versus the winner-take-all system. That laid the groundwork for there to be a Barack Obama. And so there is the coattails of that change lives on today, and it provides for others the leeway. So we don't know who the next presidential candidate that will emerge from the Democratic Party, for example, in the next presidential election. But because of his work, they're going to have to make sure that they are able to really involve the people and get the people's support such that they can have better representation once we get a chance to have that decision made at the next convention.
And during this hour, usually at the end of this hour, we ask our guests if they would give us a word of hope. So we have about 2 minutes before we go to break. So I'll give each one of you a minute, if you like, to take a minute just to talk about what you see as a word of hope.
Ladies first, Dr. DeWeaver.
Thank you. Well, I would just say that, we've been here before. As African-American people, we have been in a nation that for centuries have gotten us into a system of advancements followed by backlash, advancements followed by backlash. But what I will say is that each time we have tasted the sting of backlash, we have come back better, stronger, and advanced even further. And so no matter what's happening today, I know that we have the creativity, the brilliance, the genius, and the stick-to-itiveness to be able to make it through and come out better on the other side.
Gary?
And in the spirit of the late, great Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr., let's begin to think outside of the box. Dr. DeWeaver is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I'm a proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, as well as Sigma Pi Phi Boule. Within our organizations, church, benevolent, civic, let's subdivide into committees along the line of House delegates, state Senate districts, and congressional districts, and have subcommittees report back on what's going on in their particular district so that the body, whatever organization it may be, can take a position on said issue.
I want to thank our guests, Dr. Avis Jones DeWeaver and Gary Flowers, for joining us in this hour of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We are reflecting on the life of Reverend Jackson as the nation prepares to lay him to rest.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Esther Dillard with BIN News Now. Newark's mayor is furious after learning of a vehicle chase involving ICE agents that led to a crash injuring children.
Vehicle pursuits in this state are illegal in New Jersey and Newark specifically.
Mayor Ross Baraka, who is black, says ICE was conducting an investigation Wednesday morning when they tried pulling over a van when it took off. The van ended up hitting two other vehicles, sending two 15-year-olds and a 12-year-old to the hospital. A black former daycare worker in Concord, North Carolina is pleading guilty to misdemeanor child abuse. Court documents show LaShonda Williams used a hot glue gun on a chair, then sat a 3-year-old child down, causing second-degree burns on her upper thighs. The former daycare worker was sentenced to 10 days in jail. And memorial services begin today for the late Reverend Jesse Jackson at the Rainbow Push Coalition headquarters in Chicago. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeacrossamerica.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It's been a tough season for the USC women's basketball team without All-American Juju Watkins. The Compton native is sitting out the entire season to recover from a knee injury. Without Watkins, USC has not been ranked in the top 25 since January 12th. The Trojans fell to 9-8 in the Big Ten, 17-11 overall after losing at Penn State Wednesday night 85-82. They close out the regular season Sunday at home against UCLA, the number 2 team in the country. UCLA has won 21 straight and will likely be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Even if the Trojans upset UCLA, they're going to have to go deep in the Big Ten tournament to have a shot at the NCAA tournament. Both of LA's NBA teams are back on the court tonight with a 2-game losing streak. The Lakers, 2-4 in their last 6, are at Phoenix. The Clippers are at home against Minnesota. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message. Hi, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I have some news. The room is full. Our founding members cohort on the Art of Conversation has begun, and I could not be more energized by the professionals who said yes to mastering the craft. Their dedication to curating great conversations reminds me why I do this work. Now, if you wanted to join us and did not make it in time, I want you to hear this. The next cohort is coming. I do not have the firm dates yet, but I do have a waiting list. And everyone on that list will receive early access and special discounts when enrollment opens. After almost 40 years of interviewing world leaders and cultural icons, I am teaching everything I know. Don't miss your chance to be in the next room. Go to TavishTalks.com and get on the waiting list right now. That's TavishTalks.com. The conversation continues. Will you be part of it? Yeah, man.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
You are listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, sitting in for our friend, our brother, our colleague, Jesse Jackson Jr. I want to thank everyone for tuning in on KBLA Talk 1580 and WVON Talk 1690 in Chicago. We always enjoy spending quality time with you. I want to encourage you all to also download the app if you haven't. Download the KBLA Talk 1580 app. That way you can listen to us everywhere we go. And guess what? If you're feeling fancy, you can tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580. And there we are for your listening pleasure. Last but not least, be sure to subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel, because that way you don't just get to hear us, but you get to see us. We get to see each other. in that forum. And so be sure to do that. If you are here in Los Angeles, I want to encourage you to come on out to First AME Church in South Los Angeles, the historic First AME Church. We're going to be hosting a tribute to Reverend Jackson Sr., Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. It is taking place Friday, February 27th at 7 p.m. again at the historic First AME Church, located at 2270 South Harvard Boulevard. There are a number of civic leaders, elected officials, faith leaders, and of course, you know, the KBLA delegation is going to be running tough into this really marvelous tribute to Reverend Jackson. I can tell you that you can expect Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass to be in attendance. You can expect the Honorable Maxine Waters to be in attendance. You can expect activist, organizer of the farm workers and beyond, one of the most celebrated leaders in organized labor, Dolores Huerta, is confirmed to also be there. And of course, our very own Tavis Smiley and Dr. Cornel West. The list goes on and on and on and on. And so this is the place to be in Los Angeles this Friday. I know there are a number of people that are flying in for the NAACP Image Awards. I'll be there on Saturday. The festivities have already begun. But if you are here in town, you definitely want to stop by the historic First AME Church at 7 p.m. on Friday. All right. I am delighted to welcome back to the show Atiba and executive producer Gina is also going to be joining us as well. Atiba, welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Doc. How are you?
I'm well. And Gina Towns, the executive producer of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, is here with us. Welcome back, Gina. I want to thank everyone who is tuning in. We got you covered. We're from Los Angeles to Chicago. We've got you covered today. I'm here at the Grammy Museum where KBLA is hosting its Black History Month luncheon. I can tell you Dr. Cornel West just spoke from the stage. There are a number of comedians that are being honored here today because, look, levity is important. Sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying. Amen. And so today, Tavis Smiley and the KBLA team have assembled some of the greatest comedians of our time are here to celebrate, and we're here to celebrate them. I saw Martin Lawrence just moments ago. D.L. Hughley is here. Dion Cole, Lunel is being honored here, among others. And so we'll keep you posted as that program continues. But as for this hour, I'm really looking forward to welcoming Dr. Johnny Mack. Dr. Johnny Mack is going to be joining us in short order. Dr. Mack is the curator of the World House. And for those who are less familiar, the World House is Dr. King's visionary group. Dr. King's vision to create that beloved community, the beloved family. Well, Dr. Mack has played a hand in helping to bring that to life, appointed by the late Coretta Scott King. He's been a partner in this work for a long time. I think the young folks would say he is true to this, not new to this. And so when we come forward, I'm looking forward to welcoming Dr. Mack and also being in conversation with Atiba and Gina Towns. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
Listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your host. I also serve as KBLA's White House correspondent, and I am really honored to be filling in, if that's even possible, for our friend and brother Jesse Jackson Jr. As he continues to mourn the loss of his father, civil rights icon, Reverend Jesse Jackson. I am joined now with my guest co-host this hour, Atiba, and Gina Towns, the executive producer of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Niku,
Thank you.
and thank you for taking time out to be with us this week to sit in for Jesse as he and his family go through the last part as we process through Greenville, South Carolina, Greenville, and then Washington, D.C. And the plans, I know in the last hour we did talk about the plans in D.C., which are being finalized. So, we are processing in a really, really huge loss for the country. And, the other day, Jesse and his siblings were invited by Speaker Jeffries to sit in the gallery during the State of the Union address. And I want to share that Jesse, after 17 years of being in Congress, he said that he had never been in a State of the Union address like that, where the tone in the address and in the gallery was something that he had never experienced before. And he talked about how there was really not substance for the American people. And when you juxtapose that to the fact that Reverend Jackson was not mentioned at the State of the Union, nor were the siblings recognized in Speaker Jeffries. I'm sorry. Well, I hope I'm speaking that into existence, but in Minority Leader Jeffries' seating area, I don't know what to really say about that. I know that people keep saying not to have an expectation, but we really should have an expectation of decency, decorum, and in defense of our democracy, demand that we still go back to honoring that which has come before us.
Atiba, I want to bring you into the conversation and just get your thoughts on that State of the Union. I think so many folks who actually watched it are still processing that. It appeared to be really one of the most divisive State of the Unions that I can remember. It was a State of the Union that had a lot of pageantry. There were a lot of awards given, a little light on the substance, particularly when it comes to a number of issues impacting our communities across the country. You've served with the National Caucus of Black State Legislatures for some time. You've seen a lot, not just from the feds, but on the state and local level. Talk to us about your reaction and how you still might be processing the State of the Union address from President Trump.
Herman Edwards was the coach for the New York Jets years ago, and he said at a press conference once, when asked about the other team, they are who we thought they were. That's how I think about this. I didn't watch it, and I purposely didn't watch it, and I've turned down several media requests to talk about it because I think that we're in a day and an age where there are a lot of distractions. And I think that this administration and these politicians have a good way of distracting us. And my focus right now, honestly, is on midterms. And because that's the first place where I feel like we can change some of this. And I believe that they know that. And so they are going to do everything in their power to obstruct our ability as Americans to vote. And the reason why I'm mentioning this also within this piece is because as we reflect on the life of Reverend Jackson and we think about the others who came before him and that who all laid a roadmap for us, is the power of the vote is very important. And we have neglected it in some ways. And I'm not saying we in terms of those of us right here, but we as a nation, regardless of communities. And we got into this together and we're going to get out of it together. The question is, are we going to get out of it quickly, or are we going to take a long time and recognize that just like when you're riding down a highway and there's no obstruction on one side, but there's an accident on the other side, but yet both sides end up in gridlock. That's how we are right now. And I think we've got to figure out a way to stop looking at where the accident is and just keep going forward and keep our eyes on the prize.
And speaking of keeping our eyes on the prize, I want to welcome our featured guest to the show, Dr. Johnny Mack. He's a prominent scholar. He's a peace builder, an expert on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He's known for often focusing on King's philosophy of nonviolence and knows quite a bit. He's quite an expert on the Beyond Vietnam speech in particular. He serves as Director of International Relations for Reverend Al Sharpton. He has, at least, and has extensive experience in conflict resolution and social change. Just the right person for us to be in conversation with, as we are a nation in flux. We are a nation in conflict, both at home and abroad. And to really help us understand this moment more fully, a moment where we are celebrating and commemorating, depending on who you're talking to, the 250th anniversary of America, the 100th anniversary of Black History Week turned Black History Month. Here to help us better understand this moment, please welcome Dr. Johnny Mack.
Well, good afternoon. I had a slight problem connecting, but it's so good to be with you. And, this is an incredible time. I'm just grateful that we have the Jesse Jackson Show and the network of people such as those of us who are on now to engage in these conversations. So thank you.
Well, thank you for being here. And first things first, we were just talking about the State of the Union, and it is a State of the Union unlike any I've ever seen in my lifetime. It struck me as being incredibly divisive. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of pageantry, not nearly enough substance considering the challenges that we see here at home and abroad. And there were a lot of people that just didn't watch it because they thought that they would see President Trump's greatest hits, and in large part, that's what we saw. Did you watch the State of the Union address? And if so, what did you think of it?
Well, if I'm going to be honest, I didn't I sort of saw it, and I got pieces of it after. What did I think of it? I think many things. Listening to news reports and getting bits of it, post the event, and it's more of the same. It's more of our leader, whether we want it or not, like it or not, and we are challenged to challenge that leadership and all that it represents. And I think the State of the Union tells us that we have so much more work to do, and that work is serious work. It's the work that Dr. King and so many others, like his protege and our leader now gone, but never missed, as Jesse Jackson Jr. demonstrated, that we have to stay in the fight. We have to stay in the struggle.
Yeah. If I can chime in, Dr. Mack, one of the interesting things about it was that when Reverend Jackson passed and President Trump made one of his most kind comments on social media about Reverend Jackson when he passed, I think some people were kind of caught off guard and said, well, that's great. And I'm glad that he didn't say anything else, because people who know that Donald Trump previously was in another party and, participated in a different quote unquote politic. And times you would see, even though they agreed to disagree, that Reverend Jackson and Donald Trump were friendly. And then you saw at work the other night a little something different. And I think it really was a wake up call for someone of the stature of Reverend Jackson and the things that he has accomplished in our country. This just tells you, in case you thought it wasn't real, in case you thought there was a crack in the door, that it is real. And even if President Trump wanted to do something, there were forces perhaps behind him that would not allow it, and perhaps overvoted, overruled. So I just think that this is a moment in the country when we have to know how real it is. And to Atiba's point, we don't have any time to play around with this and how this really affects the World House. The World House is really on some stilts right now, isn't it, Dr. Mack?
The World House is in trouble, and the example that Reverend Jackson gave us, as so many others, from his I was going to say era, that's not the right word, but that mid 20th century leadership was just incredible, and they did all they could to ensure that that the World House was in order, and the question is, how do we do that today? How do we stand on those shoulders? And what is the work that we have to do? Our work at the World House Project considers that question. How do we think about the challenges and opportunities that the present global order presents us and the present leadership presents us? I think that's part of what these conversations are from week to week, that Jesse Jr. and I engage in. Gina, as you know, as King said, we have some difficult days now and difficult days ahead. And I just hope that we can stand in the gap and provide the kind of dedication and commitment and leadership that we saw Jesse Jackson Sr. and Martin King and so many others do.
It's interesting to me, Dr. Mack. Also, I have an aunt who's 106 and a half years old, and her mind is incredibly sharp. And she's been saying to me for at least the last 10 years, it's going to get worse, but I promise you it's going to get better. But it has to get worse before it gets better. And I kept asking, is it going to get worse? And is it going to get worse? And she goes, no, it's going to get a little worse. And I've been asking this for a while. I just stopped asking because I'm getting it. And I say that because when we look at the past movements, when we look at the past heroes and sheroes, and we think about terms like, I ain't going to let nobody turn me around. or we shall overcome. I'm starting to understand better the sentiment of those words and those quotes that we often say. And it's unfortunate because I feel like, unfortunately, we may have to go through this to experience it, to make sure, as I'm sure that those heroes said before, that they were working to make sure that we didn't incur this again. So I'm wondering, in terms of from your work, in terms of your perspective, what is it that we can be doing now, short of, when I say revolution, because it feels as if like the country is revolting against itself in a sense, that what is it that we can do to continue to push this agenda forward, God willing, in a peaceful manner, but in a rightful manner, in order to right the ship?
Yeah, Atiwa, you know, this idea that things will get worse before they get better, if I can address that first. I learned many years ago and adopted the notion that the path of change is not a straight line, right? I'll say that again. Path of change is not a straight line. It often moves in a direction where things do get worse. Things, as Achebe must say, or said, his book said, things do fall apart. And they fall apart, for a reason. There's a disruption. The status quo often has to be disrupted, and that disruption causes resistance, and that resistance results in more chaos and conflict. And that is the getting worse before they get better. And so we should expect that. But that then goes to the second part of your question, Atiwa, I think, and that is, if we expect it, then we must plan for it. We have to plan for things to get better and not be to get worse before they get better, and not be surprised and become disillusioned because what we thought would happen in terms of expecting some immediate change that does not happen, we then give up. And so understanding that the path of change is not a straight line forward, but can take many different paths, often and almost decidedly getting worse before they get better. Then we can make the necessary preparations. And so that is what we must do. I'll add another quick thing. That is, preparation is all about organization, is all about mobilization. And we've lost the art of mobilization. And I would argue we've lost the art of organization. We expect someone else to do that. We expect Reverend Al to do that. It's someone else's work. It is all of our work. We must mobilize, we must organize, we must study, we must educate and prepare ourselves, and then we must execute. Those are broad ideas, but they're important ideas that we cannot forget.
Well, these are very important ideas for us to not only hold in our own hands, but for us to make sure that we're sharing across generations. And when we come forward, I really want to learn about all the different ways in which the World House Project is working across generations, because we don't see or hear nearly enough of that, working across generations. We know that some of our leaders, learners, and listeners are very active on social media. They're very active on the internet, but I think the collective wisdom of everybody on this call, everybody on this show today, knows that it's both inside and outside the Beltway. It's both online and offline. And to the point that Dr. Mack just made, creating change is never a straight line. It's not linear. And so that means that we've got to take the long view and be prepared for so many legs of the journey. When we come forward, Dr. Mack, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about some of this work that you're doing across generations, and want to hear what your message is to some of the younger millennials and to the Gen Z folks out there who are fighting that urge to just disconnect from politics, disconnect from the work of building that beloved community that Dr. King envisioned so many years ago. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, along with Atiba and Gina Towns. More with Dr. Mack when we come forward.
It's Afternoon Drive Time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Rapper Cardi B is weighing in on Texas politics, endorsing Black Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in the state's Senate race.
Early primary voting is happening right now in Texas, and we need Jasmine Crockett to win.
Capitol Police arrested Congresswoman Ilhan Omar's State of the Union guest after she silently stood up during President Trump's remarks about Minnesota's Somali community. Aaliyah Rahman, a Minneapolis resident who is disabled, says officers removed her aggressively before others stepped in. She was treated at a hospital and later booked at Capitol Police headquarters. And Florida unveiled a statue of abolitionist Frederick Douglass in St. Augustine, honoring his legacy of fighting for equality. Governor Ron DeSantis called Douglass a champion of God-given rights during the ceremony at Plaza de la Constitucion, where Douglass once spoke. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, I'm Angie. Did you know a billboard can save a baby's life? It's true. You can make a difference by helping us spread the pro-life message to reach those who are struggling with an unplanned pregnancy. Please make a gift today. Visit prolifeacrossamerica.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of Black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the Black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the Black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare Black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for Black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the Black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Looking for a purposeful and passionate way to make a difference in your community? Volunteer with our Senior Medicare Patrol and help prevent Medicare fraud. SMP volunteers work in their community educating peers about healthcare fraud and how to prevent and detect it. Free training starts soon. Check us out online or at an SMP open house near you. We're on a mission to stop fraud. Join our team. You make a difference. Visit caSMPvolunteer.org.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with the world. African Focus Incorporated is a community-based organization whose mission is to bring Africans and African Americans together, lead charitable initiatives on the motherland, and educate people from all walks of life on the beauty, legacy, and opportunity of Africa's 54 nations. And it's that time once again when African Focus is teaming up with KBLA Talk 1580 for our 8th annual African Focus Trailblazers Tour. Travel with us in 2026 when we're headed to the Southern African nations of Zambia and Botswana for a historical, cultural, and vacation tour led by me, Dominique DePrima, Cultural Ambassador for African Focus Incorporated. Enjoy luxurious accommodations, conscious fellow travelers, shopping, adventures, cultural tours, wildlife safaris, and a giant waterfall, one of the world's 7 wonders, along with a chance to be of service at an orphanage on the continent. Become an AFI trailblazer by exploring the motherland with a nonprofit organization that has members in Africa and America to help roll out the red carpet for you, and together we'll make a difference and have fun doing it. For more information, visit africanfocus.org or call 310-676-7300. That's 310-676-7300 or africanfocus.org. Whether it's stateside or exploring the diaspora, we're with you every step of the way. African Focus and KBLA Talk 1580. Come go with us.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Bobby Wally drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to
KBLA
and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, your co-host and KBLA White House correspondent. I'm not alone. I'm here with the wonderful Gina Towns, executive producer of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm also joined with Atiba, who is author of the book Saving Grace. You might also recognize him as a political contributor on TV and radio. And he has spent quite a bit of time working with the National Caucus of Black State Legislatures. He is here with us today. Welcome, Atiba. Welcome, Gina. And of course, welcome our guest this hour, Dr. Johnny Mack, the curator of the World House, which is Dr. King's visionary group. We're so honored to have you here with us as we stand in for our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr. Dr. Mack, before the break, I was asking you about some of the work of World House, particularly across generations. For folks who follow the news closely, they might have heard that rapper Cardi B, just endorsed Jasmine Crockett in her race for the U.S. Senate in Texas. That's a big deal because Cardi B has a lot of followers, particularly among millennials and Gen Zs. Talk to us about the work that World House is doing to engage that same group of young people.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Nkortole. We at the World House are a global network of individuals, groups, and organizations. And our work does span generations. Specifically to your question, one of the things that we focus on is ensuring that the current generation has the platform and the opportunities to express themselves and to to join this struggle for peace and justice globally. We do that through a number of means, including the World House Project meets every Friday virtually in an hour conversation, 1 hour conversation every Friday, where again, activists, scholars, academics, elected officials, business persons join in a conversation on a given crisis in the globe, and that includes young people. We also encourage working groups, and we have several dozen working groups around the globe. These working groups are self-generated gatherings, often of strangers, whether they gather together in the same local geographical area or whether they gather virtually from around the globe, and they identify specific issues, specific challenges that are important to them, whether it's poverty or violent extremism or employment, education. And they mobilize and organize, as we were saying just before the break, in ways to address these specific issues that they might identify. We then support them through research, education, and technical assistance. And so the World House Project has institutes, a research institute, an education institute, and a social action institute that supports these working groups around the globe. Now, what are some of the things they do? Some of our members are young members, and we generally think about youth somewhere between 15 and up to 35. And so we have young leaders, again, from South America to Africa to the Far East, who are leading in their communities. They often need that research support or technical assistance for social action. We often call that direct action, but there are many other forms of social action that can be done to address specific problems, challenges, and opportunities. We provide that educational support. We provide that technical assistance and research. Some of our young members are actually contesting or standing for election in their communities, including to be president of their countries, with real chances and opportunities. So those are just some of the things we do at the World House Project.
I think Atiba, your sound. Atiba has a follow-up for you. While we're waiting for Atiba to join us, Dr. Mack, I really appreciate you sort of laying that out for us. And what's your message to folks that in this moment, are feeling just sort of disenchanted and disillusioned, right? We see it on social media. We see it on the internet. Obviously, World House is working with young people, who are engaged. And it sounds like they have some interest in wanting to engage already. But what's your message to the folks that don't have that?
Well, listen, we were recalling quotes from the mid-20th century. One of them is, I ain't no ways tired. And, we just can't be tired. We can't get tired. We have to stay in the fight. And we have to commit ourselves. I think it was Gandhi who said, be the change that we seek. And we have to be that change. If not us, then who is our message? If not you, then who? And so we're counting on you. The creative drive and energy that the current generation brings is energizing, it's electrifying. And that which they bring can engage others. And so building that solidarity, they can know that they are not alone, that there is a cadre of individuals and organizations around the globe standing by and ready to support them.
When we come forward, more with Dr. Johnny Mack, we're talking about the great work that is afoot with the World House Project. And we're getting a dose of hope from Dr. Mack, as only he can deliver it. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
LADWP urges everyone to always keep safety top of mind. If you see a downed wire, don't touch it. Stay far away and call 911 immediately. Downed wires can be deadly. Whether you're at home, work, or on the road, always assume the wire is live. Together, we can keep Los Angeles safe and powered. Learn more at ladwp.com/electric safety. Getting around LA doesn't have to cost a lot. Metro has fares that fit every budget. 20 free rides for qualified riders through the Life Fare program. Free passes for students with GoPass and affordable options for everyone in between. Wherever you're going, Metro's got you covered. Visit metro.net/fare programs.
Every morning, we rise and shine, make breakfast, and brush away the night's rest. These routines help us start the day off right. Nature Made vitamins are a simple step in that daily care regimen. Multivitamins with daily essentials, clinically studied probiotics for gut health support, magnesium to help relax the body. Nature Made is made to care for you every day. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA Talk 1580 stands with you in fighting for the rights of Black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars working collectively to improve the position of the Black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the Black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare Black workers for employment in high-wage career track jobs. The LA Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. And they are advocating for a fair deal for Black workers in the new Los Angeles City Charter. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing, or learn about union apprenticeship programs and trade registries, please visit lablackworkercenter.org. That's lablackworkercenter.org. Together, we can beat the Black jobs crisis and build a more equitable Los Angeles. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. At the heart of the Al Wooten Center's mission for good citizenship and academic excellence is a desire to ensure that every student avoids the kind of lifestyle and overcomes the kinds of challenges that led to the murder of Al Wooten Jr. In 1990, founder Myrtle Fay Rumpf opened the center in honor of her son's life. In 2026, they are serving more than 300 students in grades 3 through 12 annually online and on site at their youth center and other sites in the South LA area. The Al Wooten Jr. Youth Center takes a neighborhood approach to the revitalization and empowerment of a community in crisis. The Wooten Center provides free after-school and summer programs to help students in grades 3 through 12 attain grade-level proficiency and promotion, high school graduation, and college and career access and success. The Al Wooten Center focuses on academics, STEM, the arts, and so much more. Join them for an enriching experience that sparks creativity and nurtures young minds. Tap in at wootencenter.org. That's wootencenter.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My son loves to fly kites, but my active psoriatic arthritis can sometimes hold me back. Now with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready to go. Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults, helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Gina Towns in for Jesse Jackson Jr. today on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. And we are with our regular host on Thursday in our second hour, Dr. Johnny Mack and the World House. Dr. Johnny Mack, he was somebody. Reverend Jesse Jackson Jr., not Junior, but Reverend Jesse Jackson was definitely somebody. And I thought about during the break some of the conversation that we were having as Dr. Niku had to jump off and Atiba was having some audio problems. But, you know, we were talking about the next generation. And I had shared that Dr. Niku talked about how do we get the next generation to move forward. How about the audacity of Jesse Jackson, who says, you know, my name was originally Jesse Burns, and his name became Jesse Jackson. What is it in a name? What is it that makes us somebody in any generation? And how do we pass that on to generations that are coming and watching what's going on now?
Gina, you know, I often say, and your listeners, our listeners may recall, the idea that nothing of real value, nothing splendid has ever been achieved except by those who had the audacity to believe that something inside themselves is superior to circumstances. Mm-hmm. You know, what is that internal turbo that causes a Jesse Jackson Sr., a Martin Luther King Jr., and Ella Baker, and so many others, mm-hmm. to stand in the gap when no others will. It is that sense of self. And I think we all have that sense of self if we'll only embrace it. If we'll only recognize that human dignity is something that we share equally without division. That every man, every woman, every boy and every girl has that fundamental dignity and worth, and embracing that, I think, and refusing to be treated anything other than with full dignity and worth is what I think drove people like Jesse Jackson Sr. and so many others. I hope, my hope is that we'll live lives that demonstrate that commitment to ourselves and then to our community.
Isn't it something, though, that our human nature, as we talk about and think about the World House, our human nature loves its comfortability. And every now and then in a generation or an era, we must feel the squeeze of say, an olive in order to get the virgin oil or the pureness of something that leads to that kind of audacity, for us to be able to look in the mirror and say, send me. Why not me? What is that about our comfort that we have to be pushed, you think, Dr. Mack?
I have to admit, Gina, not my area of expertise, but I do have some sense that, fire purifies, right? It will either destroy us or it will purify. And it, metaphorically, it challenges us. And those who have that internal sense of self, who understand that it won't be if it's not me, and who accept that unselfishly. That is, they are not individualists. They're what Martin Luther King would call personalists. An individual is all about himself or herself. They are atomistic. It is all about me and my. But the personalist respects the personhood that they hold in common with everyone else, with all the rest of humanity. And so understanding the dignity of personhood is really what matters. And if my dignity, my selfhood, my personhood is to be respected and uplifted, so must yours be. And I think those who come to realize that it's all about personhood and not individualism, they are the ones who rise to the occasion.
Well, that is amazing, because what I feel like, and I have children who are in Gen Z, and they really seem to have a sense of community, a sense of allowing everybody to belong and be a part of the World House. That's the vision that I get. That's what gets me excited, that we can get there. And I think your explanation about the difference between individualism and personalism is kind of where they are. They may not be able to explain it, but I think that there is hope in that. And as we look toward ending our time together for this week, that is the word of hope that we have. And when a kernel of wheat like Jesse Jackson falls to the ground and dies, it can produce the kind of fruit, because he's everywhere and people are learning about him, and generations that have not even heard him give a speech are able to see the speeches that he gave and hear about the life that he lived, and even the audacity to go up to Martin Luther King and say, I want to be a part of this, here, send me.
Yes. Well said, Gina.
Yeah. Well, we will see you again next week. We always look forward to the World House. And of course, Jesse will be spending the week next week in the last leg of celebrating before they lay Reverend Jackson to rest. But we will be back tomorrow on KBLA Talk 1580 for Reflectivity on Fat Meat Friday. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. We'll see you tomorrow.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.